Hey guys, let's get into the next one. Tutorial 2 that we're doing on our top 10 list for product designers is Lesson 2, Assemblies. An assembly is a combination of two or more parts, also called components, within one SolidWorks document. You position and orient components using mates that form relations between components. In this lesson, you build a simple assembly based on the part you created in Lesson 1. So, if you haven't done Lesson 1, follow the link somewhere around the screen here. Go watch that video first to make sure you've done it. This lesson discusses the following: adding parts to an assembly, moving and rotating components in an assembly, and creating display states in an assembly. Next. And we're going to open a new part. Okay. Not opening an assembly yet. We'll go through the steps one by one. Okay, new part. We're creating a second part for this assembly to add to the first part we created in tutorial 1. There's a setting that I'd like you to turn on because it's going to save you a lot of time as you are learning SolidWorks. To turn on this setting, go to Tools, Options, Sketch, and we're going to go to this option here, Enable On-Screen Numeric Input on Entity Creation. What that means is as you're creating your sketch, SolidWorks will create a dimension there, and if you input a dimension into that little box, it'll automatically add that dimension to that segment, to that line, whatever, for you. You don't have to then go separately and use the Smart Dimension tool. It'll already be there. So you turn that on, and then when you do a sketch here, like our rectangle, you can see those two input boxes. The one that's highlighted is active. So if I type in 120 and then I press Tab, Tab will go to the next dimension. Press 120 again. Well, SolidWorks knows that that's the same dimension. So it only creates one dimension, but it will automatically create the equal relation for us. That equal relation makes those two lines the same length. So that's perfect. Now we're going to do extrude. So we're going to go Features, Extruded Boss Base. When we put in our dimension, it's asked for a depth of 90. Press OK. And we're going to add some fillets. Now I'm going to teach you a new trick for fillets. You do not have to click the fillet tool here. You can click on an edge and then click the fillet tool here on the shortcut. You can type in your dimension, 10, and then you can click the rest of the edges. Now, this little box here in the left in our property manager, show selection toolbar, that will let you, if we just deselect all of these, when you select one edge with that enabled, it'll show you this little toolbar here, and that'll give you some options to automatically select a bunch of edges. I want to do these 4 edges, so clicking that, press OK, there's my fillets done in just a few clicks. All right, next step, shell. We're going to click shell, we're going to click on the front face, and we're going to change the thickness to 4, and hit enter again. And we're going to save the part as tutored 2. So save it with your original file in the same folder, and we're done. Okay, now, in this section, you can use the Convert Entities and Offset Entities tools to create sketch geometry. Then you create a cut to make a lip to mate with the part from Lesson 1. So there's a Zoom to Area tool, which is on our Views toolbar here. Ooh, this one here. So if you click that little icon, Zoom to Area, and then you draw a box, SolidWorks will zoom into that position. Press Escape to deselect that tool. Now we're going to select the front face of the thin wall. We're going to select Extruded Cut, and we're going to select Convert Entities. So the tool Convert Entities is here. It converts selected edges and sketch entities into identical entities by projecting them onto the sketch plane or face. I liken it to a copy type tool. Now, there are a few intricacies with Convert Entities. One of those intricacies is when I select a face here, it's going to only convert the outer edge, not the inner edge. And we can see this line, this black sketch line, and the convert entity relations for each of those segments. It's only done the outside edge. If I wanted to convert the inside edge, I can select that edge and then press convert, and that will do it separately. Okay, so convert entities and then offset entities. So offset, we want to have that with the face selected, and select offset and press next step. In the offset entities property manager, under parameters, set offset distance to 2. And the preview shows the offset extending outwards, as you can see here. And usually there's a little yellow, usually you'll see a little yellow arrow pointing to the direction of the offset. Now you can move your cursor to a direction and that arrow will change, or you can hit the reverse button in the Property Manager, and you will see the preview change to the inside. Press OK. So now we've got two sets of lines. That's creating a contour, a section between the two, which we're going to use for our cut. So we press Exit Sketch, and we're going into our Cut Extrude mode, and we're going to set the depth of this to 20. Click OK. The material between the two lines is cut, creating the lip. All right, you can see the thinner section that's created around that top face. Hit Save and press the next step. Now, changing the color of a part. You can change the color and appearance of a part or its features. There's a few ways you can do this. The way it's describing here is to right-click on the icon at the top of the feature tree. Under Appearances, I select the part. It will open up the Color Manager, and I can choose a color. Let's try and match, and then press OK. Now, there's a lot more to appearances, but as a starting point, adding colors to bodies and parts, nice and simple. So that's done. Save the part. Now creating the assembly. If you hadn't already created that part, you can access it via your own SolidWorks drive where it will be saved. Okay, but we created it yesterday, so you don't have to worry about that too much. We're going to click New, and we're going to click Assembly. So Assembly is a 3D arrangement of parts and or other assemblies. Now, under Parts and Assemblies to insert, for begin assembly, I'm going to press Browse. Let's go back a step. Okay, the instructions tell us to open that original part, Tutor 1. So I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to browse to that file and open Tutor 1. Here it is. Now, when I click a new file and a new assembly, both files are open. They're open documents here, and so I can select Part 1, Tutor 1, to drop into my assembly. Now, so if I select that document, Tutor 1, and I move my cursor into the assembly, I get a preview of a position of where that's going to drop. The pointer changes to a cursor with a part icon. Now click Keep Visible in the Property Manager, which is this button here, to keep that Property Manager pinned so we can insert more than one component without having to reopen. Now in the graphics area, I'm going to click to place Tutor 1 file, and then in the Property Manager, I'm going to click on Tutor 2 to change parts and drop the second part into the assembly. And then I'm going to right mouse button click for OK. And we're going to save this assembly as Tutor. I'm going to save it in the same file, same folder that we did those two parts. All right, mating components. Now, we'll read this and then I'll tell you where it goes wrong and that we need a bit more clarification. So in this topic, you define assembly mating relations between components, making the components align and fit together. To do that, you click Mate. Mate is here. The Mate Property Manager appears. In the graphics area, you select the top edge of Tutor 1 and select the outside edge of the lip on the top of Tutor 2. The Mate pop-up toolbar appears, etc., etc. So the one thing that we want to do before that in this instance is we want to float these parts, and I just want to quickly tell you about float and fix. So in assembly, when you drop a part in and it's floating, which means it is underdefined, it has a negative sign next to the name of the part. You can see that here. Okay, negative sign. And the other one, F, is for fixed. Well, the floating part, underdefined, I can click and drag and move around. The fixed part, I can't move it at all. It's just locked in place. So if we want to make these things properly, we need to float both parts. So on this part, I'm going to right click and click float. Now that part can move. Okay, and now I can use a nice little trick by finding the origin of the original part, which is that blue cross, and I hold Control and I click the origin of the assembly, and then I'm going to click Mate, and it's going to line up those two elements. I'm going to press OK, and now you can see that a negative sign on Tutor 1, that part has gone because that part is now fully defined by that mate. All right, and that is a much better position than it was when we dropped it in originally. So now with that done, I'm quite happy to mate this part as the example tells me to. So in the graphics area, we'll go through this now. Select the top edge of Tutor 1, which is here. I'm going to hold Control, select the outside edge on the lip of Tutor 2, here. The Mate pop-up toolbar appears, which is this. and the components move into place. Previewing the mate. Well, we have to click. So what we want to do here, so what we need to do following these steps now is click the mate tool, and then in the graphics area we're going to select the top edge of this part, tutor 1, and the top edge here of tutor 2, and the mate pop-up toolbar appears and the components move into place, previewing the mate. And under mate selections, the edges are listed as entities to mate. So that's these two things here, the two edges we've selected. On the mate pop-up toolbar, we can choose all the different mate options for what we've selected. By default, it's selected coincident, and I press the tick and it will add that mate. A coincident mate appears under mates in the property manager, that is this section down here. If the position of tutor 2 is not fully defined, it has some degrees of freedom to move in directions that are not constrained by mates. What we can see by that is if I click and drag this part, I can still move it side to side, but I can't move it away from those two edges that I've mated together. All right. So next step, add more mates. Select the rightmost face of one component and select the corresponding face on the other. So this is why mates are so easy typically to do. It's just selecting faces, and a lot of the work is done automatically by SolidWorks. So those two are done, and then I'm going to do the two top faces, and that's going to make those coincident. Okay, and now everything lines up. I press the tick. You can see that negative sign has disappeared from tutor 2. The bottom of my screen, which I'll just raise up for you there, we can see it also says fully defined. The assembly here is fully defined. Press save, and we're going to quickly look at display states to finish the tutorial. So you can change the display settings of the components and save the settings in a display state. At the top of the feature manager design tree, to the right of the tabs show display pane. That is this little arrow here. The display pane shows the different display settings, appearances, transparency, etc. of each component. So this is hidden or not, this is showing or not, this is their appearance, so their color or material that's been added, and this column here is whether they are transparent. Right click anywhere in the display pane and click add display state. Enter a name and press enter. Okay, we'll just use display state 2. Move the pointer over tutor 2 in the feature manager design tree, that's this one, and then when the pointer changes to a hand, click and then select hidden lines visible. Move the pointer into the display mode column, move the pointer over tutor 2 in the feature manager design tree, and move the pointer into the display mode column. When the pointer changes to a hand, click, then select hidden lines visible, which is this option. Click hide display pane, right click and click display state 1. Right click this, display state 1, and it will go back to the original display state. Display state 2, we can see the difference. So we're not changing any geometry here, we're just changing how one of the parts look. In this example, we might use this while we're looking at some of the detail of the tutor 1 part. Quite a handy tool, which, to be honest, I've rarely used, but there's probably room where I could. So, congratulations, you've completed this tutorial, and well done for completing tutorial 2 in our top 10 list for product designers. Our next tutorial will be fillets. Keep an eye out for that coming soon. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you've got any questions or feedback, just drop it in the comments below. See you next time. Bye. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful and found something new to enhance your SolidWorks skills. Don't forget to subscribe to Fully Defined for more tutorials, tips and insights from a certified SolidWorks expert. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, leave a comment below. I read all comments and love hearing your feedback. Remember, with the right skills and tools, you can turn your design dreams into reality. Keep modeling, keep learning, and always fully defined.